T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. We've gone for main engine start. We have main engine start. America's first space shuttle. And the shuttle has cleared the tower.
Oh, how I marvel at these brave souls, those who dare to dream, then venture out against all odds to explore what else is out there past these shores. Hi, I'm Chris May, writer, producer, and host of This Day in Weather History from the Weather Network in Canada. A new era in spaceflight began on April 12th of 1981 when the Space Shuttle Columbia blasted off into near-Earth orbit from NASA's Kennedy Space Center in Florida. This day in weather history. I remember where I was, clearly, the day it launched. It was a hockey arena, not really an extravagant one either, to tell you the truth. It was during one of my younger brother's rep hockey tournaments. We were gathered around a small 12, maybe 14-inch screen at the snack bar. I was 11 years old, and it was awesome. The initial launch date was scheduled for April 10th of 81. The shuttle was humankind's first reusable spacecraft. The orbiter would launch like a rocket and land like a plane. You see, the two side solid rocket boosters were as historical as any other concept in this new era of the space program. These would also be reused after being recovered in the ocean. That's right, decades before SpaceX, we already had entered the era of reusable booster rockets. The STS-1 crew of Commander John W. Young and pilot Robert L. Crippen was ready.
And that's a good picture of John coming down.
Like John Young's not going to wait for Dr. Fisher.
Captain went overboard first. We do have data. Okie dokie. That boat's coming over the line. I'm going off. See you guys back in Houston. Super, Crip.
Astronaut John Young was already a veteran of 4 previous spaceflights. He was actually even one who actually walked on the moon in 1972. For this historic occasion, he would command this mission, while Navy test pilot Bob Crippen piloted the mission, and then he too would go on to command 3 future shuttle missions. On the ground around the astronauts, the mission managers continued to keep a very close eye on the primary landing site runway, as it had been belted with a recent and unusual series of heavy rainfalls. Isn't it always the way? Just when you have something massive you've planned, the weather plays the obstacle for an otherwise perfectly planned marvel of science and engineering. At the end of the mission, Columbia would land at Edwards Air Force Base in California. The runway they were scheduled for is just over 5 miles long, and it provided the greatest margin of safety. But the weather spoiled that anticipation when it had turned soggy due to heavy rain earlier in March. These wet conditions caused concerns as to whether the runway would dry out properly and safely in time to support an April landing.
2,500 feet.
Clear? You're coming. You're down. 50 feet. 40, 30, 20, 10, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, touchdown. Those gears, 10 feet. 5, 4, 3, touchdown. Look above, skipper. Welcome home, Columbia. Beautiful, beautiful.
When the very first space shuttle launched into orbit, it was less than a year after The Empire Strikes Back had hit theaters, and while it wasn't exactly traveling the stars to an optimistic 11-year-old at the time, Columbia's first flight was the precursor to all of us eventually flying in space. We're 40 years past that now, and the last shuttle flight was nearly a decade ago, but the space shuttle program was so important for space exploration and science. It helped build the International Space Station, it launched the Hubble Space Telescope into orbit, and was then instrumental in its repair. And even now we're seeing companies pick up the same ideas of reusability that will make space more accessible in the years to come.
Once again, for a second day in a row, a big thank you to my good friend Scott Sutherland, the Weather Network's space writer and meteorologist. And you can read his articles online anytime at theweathernetwork.com. Tomorrow is April 13th, and I'm diving deep into the analysis of a story I included in my Year in Review for the year that wasn't, the year 2020. A widespread and deadly tornado outbreak affected the southeastern United States on Easter Sunday and Monday, April 12th and 13th. Brutal timing, and we pick it up tomorrow on This Day in Weather History with me, your host, Chris May.